Hey folks, welcome back to yet another episode of Yash Dubal's Book Club. This episode is very special to me. I think you will find it out on the other side of the intro.
So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first Zoom book club. We have with me my mentor, Mike Runyon. So, Mike, thank you very much for accepting this invite, and it's great to have you in this book club. All right, so the book which we are reviewing today is by Patrick Lencioni. It's called The Five Dysfunctions of a Team. This book had been recommended to me by my mentor, Mike, and I thought, what better than reviewing this book with him, with a person who has actually taught me leadership skills. So thank you very much once again, Mike, for accepting this invite and being part of this show. I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Josh. Glad to be here. Thank you for finally inviting me to be on Josh Duval's Book Club.
Tell us something about the book. What did you like about this book?
Well, the main thing I liked is just kind of the simplicity of the concepts and the fact that it really nicely encapsulates the important aspects and characteristics of a team, and it couches them in terms of dysfunctions. But those dysfunctions outline the important principles that you must have in order to have an effective team.
Simplistically written in the sense that it's written in a form of a fable, so it's very easy to understand and digest.
Yeah, very easy to read. The story, I think, is very engaging, and I think for most of us, as you're reading it, you may see aspects of both positive and challenging aspects that you may have experienced in teams you've been a part of in the past.
Yeah, I think the author did a great job in writing those five dysfunctions up front in a like a pyramid shape. Maybe if you want to discuss those five dysfunctions and then walk through those.
Yeah, sure. I mean, so the core dysfunction, as you mentioned, it's the author describes them in a pyramid shape, and so and it makes sense because you really have to have the first layer before you can have the second, before you can add the third, fourth, and fifth. And so the first dysfunction that he talks about is absence of trust. So the dysfunction is the absence of trust, and the corollary kind of principle for an effective team is you must have trust among the team as kind of a basic core principle of team, and then that allows you to move on to the next step.
Yeah, maybe you want to elaborate some more about trust. I mean, it makes sense that obviously if you do not trust your leader, you would not be willing to work in such a team, or where there is distrust, you would not be confident in doing your duties.
Yeah, and what he talks about is that you have to have enough trust in your team so that you can be vulnerable and be able to state your feelings about a given situation, and you have to really be able to have trust in your teammates enough that you're able to have an honest conversation about how you feel about a given topic. And if you don't have that trust, then what can happen is the team can have what the author calls artificial harmony. You kind of act like you're getting along and everything's okay and that things aren't bothering you, but you're not really buying into what the team is doing. Just kind of as an overview of the entire pyramid. So the five dysfunctions are, absence of trust can lead to fear of conflict, lack of commitment, avoidance of accountability, and inattention to results. Those are the five dysfunctions.
So maybe dwelling on the second point, which is fear of conflict. If your team is afraid to tell you that what you are doing is wrong, or maybe we should do it differently, then obviously it's detrimental for the entire cause.
Yeah, and I think it just gets to the ability to openly communicate, be honest about your weaknesses, about mistakes, and if you don't have that trust, enough trust to be able to feel comfortable doing that, then you're not going to have a solid foundation for the team. Where it seems like everyone's on the same page, but that's only because the team didn't have enough trust to have the conflict that they needed to be able to work through their feelings to get to the next step, and which is commitment. And so when you have that fear of conflict, you don't work through your feelings to the point and that you need to, and so you end up at the next step, which is lack of commitment.
Yeah, I think so, because you are not able to express your opinions and your thoughts about a particular project, and you agree to what your boss or leader thinks, and that leads to lack of commitment, in the sense that you are then not interested in that project. You feel that you're not part of it completely, so then obviously your commitment towards the project goes down as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then if you're not committed to the project, you haven't made the commitment, then it's going to lead to the next dysfunction, the fourth dysfunction, which is avoidance of accountability. And so again, it kind of, the whole first three dysfunctions have kind of permeated up and resulted in that avoidance of accountability. And so if you're not committed to the plan of action, then you're going to hesitate to either call out other people who aren't acting according to the plan, or you're going to hesitate or be less willing to be called out yourself for being accountable.
Which leads to the final dysfunction, which is inattention to results.
Absolutely. And that kind of gets to the team members themselves aren't able to put their own interests and goals aside, and so they're not really paying attention to the collective results of the team. And again, you can see how this kind of feeds up.
There is a role of the leader as well, because throughout, if you see all these points, it also reflects on the leader. Now, if the leader has created an environment where their immediate subordinates could report to them, could open up to them, then things would have been easier and there would have been attention to results. But what happens is, if the leader is selfish and is trying to accomplish his or her own ulterior motives, then I think this is where all the problems start. And I would like to tell the audience about, or the viewers, about one incident which I really adored, which had happened. This was a time when the iPhone was launched. I don't know which iPhone it was, and Mike usually orders my iPhone, and he orders his as well. But I remember, because most of the time the iPhones, when they are ordered, the shipping dates usually slips very fast. Now, it was so nice of him, and that's where the leadership comes in, whereby he first ordered my iPhone so that it could ship on time and get delivered to me on time before ordering his. So I think that's what leadership is about. It's a small instance, but still, like iPhone, and why should I sacrifice my own and give it to someone else first? That instance itself was pretty awesome. Thanks, Mike. I think I've never shared this with you, but I thought I should share it today, now that we are talking about leadership. And this is like practice before you preach, and I got to learn so much from that one small incident.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think it reminds me of another book that maybe we can look at in the future called Leaders Eat Last. And it gets to the point where you're talking about is really taking care of your team. But I think, and also you get to the point of, it's the leader who's responsible for setting the culture that basically prevents the 5 dysfunctions of a team that we talk about.
Since it's talking about team, I think there is no better place where other than the emergency department, whereby teamwork is of paramount importance. Not just a code situation, but anything, from seeing a patient, and the fact that how important it is for you as a doctor to work hand in hand with your nurse or with your junior doctors and allow them to also express their opinions.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, when, what can you or I accomplish as an individual in the emergency department without the assistance of the team? And the answer is there's very little that we can accomplish. So we really need to have the team environment and be able to have that trust. Certainly we need to have a situation where the junior doctors and the nurses as well feel comfortable speaking up if they see something that doesn't make sense.
It's about creating a situation whereby they feel like if you see something, say something.
Right. Exactly.
Any final words or closing remarks?
Well, again, I just really like this book, and I think when you read through it, it's one of those books that you are like, it just makes sense, right? And there are things that are easy to skip over, and they're easy to undervalue. There's nothing particularly magical about the steps, but when you read through the book and you really think about the different dysfunctions, it just, again, it makes sense.
It's like when you read the book, yes, it's all pretty basic stuff, and when you read it, you feel like, oh yeah, that's how it should be. However, it is easier said than done, because in real life, when you are actually supposed to do it, there is some sort of discomfort or inconvenience for you to practice it. And the human mind or the human tendency is to avoid any pain-inducing or discomfort-inducing experiences. So they try to avoid it.
Yeah, and I think that gets to a point that some folks sometimes talk about, is the difference between simple and easy. So I think the concepts that are laid out in this book are relatively simple concepts, and I think I personally think back when I read it, it really resonated with me, because I remember situations where I've been in very highly functional, cohesive teams, and I didn't realize it at the time, but either intentionally or unintentionally, our leader was doing exactly the things that were laid out in this book to avoid these dysfunctions. But I think, again, while they're relatively simple concepts, that doesn't mean they're easy to enact.
With that, I would really like to thank you for introducing me to this author, and I think he has written a series of a lot of such books. Probably we will try to review some more of his books sometime in this. Having said that, by the way, Mike, this is actually a half-year anniversary of Yash Dubal's book club. This is the 26th episode. And what better day to have you be part of this. It's an honor to have you in this 26th episode of this club.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I'm just honored to be here. It's great to do this with you.
Thanks a ton, Mike. I really, really thank you. I have no words to express my gratitude for this. I wish you a great weekend and pass my regards to your family.
Same here. Take care, Yash. Till next time. I think you screwed it up already. I think we should start over.
Yes. And the pulling of leg continues. It's what was I saying? I got a really nice point to add.